is cost cutting the best way to grow profits?
Yes.
All right, cool. And that was the episode. No.
I don't know why I can't resist the urge to just give you a very direct, like jokey answer every time you ask me a direct question. Maybe it's something I need to work on.
I can't resist the urge to ask you such yes/no questions as well.
Yeah, so I learned this strategy from a course we did not long ago. It really hit home for me when I did this. Now, I must say I am quite diligent with my costs as it is. It's not like I had excessive costs in a business when I learned this, but it was a really interesting equation that I hope people take from this. If you're a business owner and you save $1,000, so maybe you go through your costs and you go, do you know what? I can take $1,000 out of my running costs. You directly take that $1,000 to profit. Like $1 saved is $1 earned. Now, on the other hand of things, if you earn an extra $1,000, right? So you grow your revenue by 1,000. If you have, let's say, I'm going to use a 50% margin to make the maths easy. You actually have to earn $2,000 to take out the $1,000 of profit. So you can see that in the example, and that's on a 50% margin. A lot of business owners don't have a 50% margin. Nope. Is that if you directly save $1, you earn $1, but when you grow revenue, you have to grow substantially more revenue to do both to create that same effect. And when I really understood that, I'm like, right, this is very interesting. And I'm not saying you don't need to do both, but you definitely need to be diligent to produce a really great result here.
Yeah, it is the easiest thing when you understand it to just go, oh, it actually doesn't take me that long to remove some kind of costs, right? Because it's like, okay, well now similar to how I would invest time into sales and marketing to generate more, I just put a similar, or I'm not going to put the same amount of time, but I just redivert some attention and say, well, how do I decrease my costs? The mechanics that sit behind it is no different, but just understanding, to your point, that equation of going, holy smokes, I need to sell, in most businesses scenarios, $4,000 in order to make $1,000. You know what? Let's be honest, probably $6,000 to make $1,000 in a lot of businesses versus just going, well, how can I remove $1,000 worth of expenses every single month? Like that disparate view, like just imagine the leads you have to generate, the sales you have to generate, the work you have to do to nurture them and then deliver the service and do all that kind of stuff versus just going, I'm going to have a very difficult conversation with one person. I'm going to have a very difficult conversation with one supplier. Like it's almost like this path is so much easier to run outside of just going, well, more is more.
Completely. There is an art to cost cutting though, and I would love to go into that a little bit and just describe like good cost cutting versus bad cost cutting. All right, I'll use the example of a computer here, right? If you have a computer and let's say you have the brand new Mac and it costs you $5,000 for this laptop, and you can do the exact same job on a $2,000 Mac laptop, right? If you're going to cut that cost down $3,000 and there's no difference in output, that's good cost cutting because you're actually being more efficient. If you just cut your marketing budget and it actually ends up producing less leads and degrading the business, you're actually making it smaller. That is, I'm just going to call it bad cost cutting. Yep. There might be reasons to do it, but I think in the idea we're talking about here is we're saying, you know, what costs can I cut to be more efficient with my capital? And I think one of the things I've really seen at times, and particularly more recently with business owners as the economic environment has changed, is they cut costs in the wrong area, not recognizing that, hey, maybe I need to invest in my business to get a better team member so that I can actually thrive in this next environment. You might need to spend more money in areas. Like there may be areas of your business you don't want to cut. Yep. So you've got to be very, very careful with how you play this. And you made an excellent one in what we do with the media company. Do you want to talk into like how you were able to kind of like, you did a really good roll-up of our software stack. I thought it was quite impressive recently.
Yeah, so problem solving, something I thoroughly enjoyed. So when we were looking through all of our financials, we split out all of our software costs. And we actually found that because we've got video editors, audio editors like content writers, graphic designers, project managers, etc. You kind of mentioned the works. They all kind of need bespoke tools. However, when you look at bespoke tools, usually a subject matter expert will only use like 20% of them. I've even seen people use like 5% of these tools. So these tools have huge amounts of breadth. So like we were using a video review tool called Frame.io, huge amounts of capabilities, like people at Pixar and stuff like that use them. We were using like this tiny fraction of this tool. And so we were spending thousands on this thing. And we went, okay, cool. We also had project managers that were doing a lot of project management, etc. And I'm like, well, how do we get these reviews that we're doing on the videos and the tasks that the project managers create for the video editors to edit and just kind of merge it in together? And so we ended up finding ClickUp, which has actually got a video review tool in the same system, as well as some other tools that we're able to get rid of and merge it into one. So not only did we kind of change like 3 subscriptions into 1 subscription, we significantly reduced our cost base whilst actually giving the team the same amount of functionality they needed. And so it actually worked out to be a significant improvement, especially the amount that we were spending on software, etc. Now, every single, probably to your point, 6 months, I just sit down and I just look at our tools and just say, is there some kind of new innovation that we could replace it with instead of just like resting on our laurels? Or even from just our admin costs, is there anything else that we can do just so that we can kind of drive that profitability instead of just having this kind of stagnant software there or this ghost software there, just not doing anything that no one really is really maximizing.
Yeah, I think that's massive. Software is a great one. I think every business owner listening to this one could evaluate the software they use because you get complacent, right? It's that just sitting there and say, oh, we've always used this.
And I think that is the problem that a lot of people face. I was talking to a lovely lady who's the CEO of an organization that does very well. And we were looking at numbers and it was like, oh, that's always been like that. Yeah, no, I get that. But why? Why is that so high? Oh, well, I'd never looked under the cover of that before because everyone just said like, that's the norm. That's how it is. And so we've just started like looking under the cover of these different expenses and going, can we optimize any of these things? Because anything that we can optimize, and you're talking like $10,000, $20,000 a month expenses here. If we can reduce some of that, that's $5,000 of profit. That's $10,000 of profit every single month, recurring forever. And I'm just like, so don't just rest and just say, oh, we've always done it like that. No. Look at everything. And don't do it weekly. Like time box it, do it monthly or quarterly or every 6 months, etc. Like this shouldn't be a nickel and dime scenario. This should just turn into like that cadence of, okay, what are we spending on? How are we going to optimize it?
I actually review this every month. Do you want to know how I review it?
Oh.
All right. So I'm a really big fan of this metric called ROE, return on equity.
Yep.
Right, and the way I think about it is every month in business, you've got running costs. You've got your expenses to run your business. And let's just pretend it's $100,000. Okay. So it costs you $100,000 every month to run your business. And then you generate revenue from that. So maybe you generate $200,000 of revenue, which would give you a 50% margin in this example. Yep. Now, let's say next month you produce $220,000 of revenue, right? But you keep your expenses the same. Right, so you're still spending $100,000, but you've been able to generate 20% more revenue. That's good expense management. That means your expenses is staying the same and you're actually producing more. But if it goes the other way, so maybe the month after you've still got your $100,000 in costs, but you only produce $150,000 in revenue. Well, that is return on equity. So the return you're getting on spending your capital in your business is decreasing. Now, for a lot of people, I would really encourage they look at it month on month because maybe you're adding things into your business and it's not turning into more revenue. And this is where bloat comes from. This is where people get really, really bloated as a business. So I look at it and say that ROE metric is just such a good way to identify if you're becoming more or less efficient with the money you're spending and if you should be evaluating your costs more granularly. And then once you've kind of established that, like maybe you get to it and go, cool, I can see I'm getting bloated, but I don't actually know what to cut. Like, well, how do I work out what to look through? Software's the standout one. I think is a really good one you kind of like pointed out first. But then secondary to that, and I know we've already spoken about this earlier in the episode, this is where I love to do the networking thing and going, hey, what are you using to do this? How much is it costing you to deliver that? How much are you paying staff to do these areas so you can evaluate and go, well, he's only paying this to do that and I'm actually heavy here. Yep. And now you can start to identify the areas where you would make change. Maybe you're doing a role onshore in Australia where people have found a way to do it offshore. Maybe you're using an expensive tool. Maybe you've got an expensive team member. And I really want to highlight this one as well, though. The areas I think that you got to be very, very careful with cost cutting: team and marketing.
Yep.
Because if you get those ones wrong, the impacts of like being able to produce new revenue or grow revenue decrease massively.
Yeah.
So be very, very careful. And I'm even biased. I would much prefer to have good team. I think trying to have cheap team never leads to good things.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into being a full stack business owner, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.